Let's see if this works. Testing one, two, three. Well, I just discovered that YouTube is not liking my mic settings. All right, whatever. We'll just go ahead with the headphones. Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Road to Recovery, and purpose of the Monday morning chat is to allow anyone who might be in the struggle with porn addiction to be able to come in, talk, and chat about whatever topic you want to talk about. I allow this time I forward this time to be able to communicate with anybody who is a follower that may have questions, comments, concerns, or just wants to simply talk about what their recovery process has been like. If I don't get any chatters this morning, I will just talk about the things that I want to talk about. You are free if you are coming in right now to use the chat feature and just type anything you want to, or if you want to ask a question, ask a question. It's all good, man. It's all good. I had an interesting recovery week, man. I've had so many newcomers out of the woodwork. The people that aren't even coming to meetings. I've had like newcomers just through networking, a friend of a friend of a friend, right? Just coming up and introducing themselves to me and texting me. And I don't stop anybody. Like if you happen to be in my inner circle or a friend of my inner circle, um, you probably have been given my phone number, and I just chat with these people on a regular. But it's been bizarre how many new people that have kind of reached out to me and have just been talking about the struggle. Um, and it makes me aware because the demographic of people I see is so stretched out. I will say this much. When you think about people that have this struggle, and, occasionally you'll get some people on the socioeconomic side of things on the lower end, but a majority of the people that I talk with are either mid-career professionals or like at the top of their game. It's really bizarre. It's really bizarre. If you were to plot out all of my very small data pool, but if you were to plot it out, that graph would peak towards the end. It's a lot of career-ended people that end up getting caught into this addiction. But I've also seen a trend with a lot of young guys, either fresh out of high school or in their college years or directly out of college coming into meeting program as well. So it's a pretty mixed bag, I would say. But it's all the people that have been reaching out to me as of late have all been the career professionals. And then you put yourself in their shoes. It's I think it's difficult for a lot of these career professionals to come into a room and have to stand in front of a bunch of other guys and talk about it because they've been in control for so long. And I've been on this kick recently where I've been kind of talking about step three. And if you're not inside of the 12-step program, that's fine. You can exercise recovery outside of a 12-step room. It's anybody can get access to recovery, right? But we got a process inside of 12-step rooms. And step three is the process by which you, uh, based on step one and step two, you surrender. And it's not surrendering to the addiction, it's surrendering the addiction to outside forces, and specifically towards God. But if you don't believe in God, that's fine. It's higher power, really. It's like you surrender your addiction to higher power. And so, what that's really saying is that you acknowledge that you've tried controlling this for so long. You've tried doing everything you possibly could, and nothing seemed to work. You always seem to get back into the fold, right? When you recognize that you've done this over and over and over again, and nothing seems to work, well, first off, Einstein has literally defined that as insanity. Doing something over and over again, and you keep repeating that process, and there seems to be no change in the results, right? Einstein defined that as insanity. So you have to admit that that's insane. Like what you're doing is insane. And step three inside of the 12-step program is to acknowledge the fact that what you're doing isn't working. You gotta give it up. You've got to give up your control over that process. That does not mean that you surrender to the addiction, right? What it actually means is that you're surrendering your ability to control the addiction. So, in a nutshell, what we say inside of the 12-step program is let go, let God. What that means is that there's aspects about addiction because it's addiction, right? Because you cannot stop the internal mechanism that's going on, that you just have to say, hey, you know what? My control over this is gone. Now, it does not mean that you stop trying. There is a huge difference there. What you're saying is that, you know what? My personal take is not working. I've got to try something different, and you're letting go of the trying to regulate your own addiction, which also means you have to let go of a lot of other things, that pride, that stubbornness, that ego, right? All of those things that were preventing you from seeking help, you got to let all that go too. So the let go process is a pretty big ask. It's getting down to, recognizing that the addict is partially ego, and ego doesn't want to tell people about what's going on. It doesn't want to show that it's weak, right? Weakness is a big thing about this. So a lot of these mid and upper career professionals, man, they're so used to being able to put on their poker face. That's all they know how to do. And you've got to let all that shit go. Gotta let it all go. The ego has to go out the door. Yeah. That's what it's all about, man. The second you can start letting go and you have the courage to kind of walk inside of a room and say, "Hey, you know something? I don't have control. I'm an addict." It's very humbling. It's the first thing you say when you walk in a recovery room. Hi, my name is Road to Recovery, and I'm a porn addict. This morning I was tweeting on Twitter about that very subject. I don't call myself a recovered addict. When I hear people saying I'm a recovered blah blah blah, I'm like, you will always be an addict. It's the secret. I'm gonna whisper. You will always be an addict. Now, time and sobriety does make things easier. The cravings become less intense, right? There's lots of things that you can do because once the cravings become less intense, you can start exercising more cognitive control, start grabbing onto more tools. Everything starts to become easier the more time you have in sobriety. But the person who you were, the person that was staying up late at night, constantly looking at porn, spending more and more time doing the consumption and the seeking behaviors, right? All that's still inside of you. And what we know from a lot of research is that addicts of various stripes tend to have family histories, which means there might be a genetic component based on that family history, right? So the predisposition is what we call that. The predisposition to being able to act out in addictive ways exists inside of you. And so the reason why you admit that you're an addict is because you're an addict. It's never going to go away. And that's what I tell myself every single day. I have to have a memory of the way I used to be, right? And I reflect on that on a regular basis. Every single day, in some way, shape, or form, I tell myself, I'm an addict. When I go to meetings, I say I'm an addict. But when I'm not in meetings, wake up in the morning, I'm an addict. And when you can start confronting that, when you can start being real with yourself and admit to the fact that you have a problem, and that problem is probably never going to go away, but what you can do is you can start taking meaningful and necessary action in order to control the addiction, which is what recovery is all about. You jump into the recovery process and you do the process, right? You set a recovery plan, you go about new routines. You've seen my tactics series. I do tactics here on this channel, and those tactics are supposed to keep you in a space where you're not going to be acting out again, right? And the best thing you could ever do is wake up on any given day and say, let's see if I can make it to the end of the day. And before you know it, 90 days racks up, 180 days, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. And for a lot of people, there's that struggle. Well, most of the struggle is early on, like trying to maintain a time of sobriety. And when you can maintain that time of sobriety, I am not joking, it gets easier. It does get easier. Some guys as early as 30 days, some guys can stretch it out to 90 days, some guys need more time in sobriety before it all kicks in. But you're never a recovered addict. Don't ever fool yourself. You got to do those mental push-ups every single goddamn day. It's no vacation. You don't take vacations. Every single day, I'm an addict. Every single day, you look at your recovery plan. What do I got to work on? And part of that is out of circle behavior. I've said this on my channel before. In SAA, they have the three circle process. And the outer, we just lost internet activity for just a second. So where was I? Outer circle activities. The outer circle activities are supposed to be, what are the things that I'm okay to be working on? And oftentimes in addiction, we abandon things that we should be working on, right? So a lot of part of the recovery process is putting yourself in a position of doing things you should be doing. And oftentimes it's things you like, right? The addiction starts to rob us of trying to find any other things that we like, or activities that we once liked that we pushed aside because the porn became more attractive, right? Um, you have to be careful there too, because recognizing that you are an addiction, are an addict, I'm sorry, that you are an addict, you have a tendency to replace one addiction for another. So, you don't want to replace alcoholism with your porn addiction, right? You don't want to replace gaming addiction with your porn addiction. Heard a guy the other day saying, I stayed sober, by playing video games. I'm like, I'm actually, it motivated me to create a meme about it. Um, but yeah, if you're replacing one addiction with another addiction, that's not recovery, man. um, if you're telling me you're going to the gym on a regular basis, that's a little bit more understandable. Can some people be gym addicts? Yeah, but you know, put yourself in a gym if you're just doing a couple hours. That's good. Yeah. Throwing yourself into a lot of other activities that don't allow you to isolate, that gets you out into a public sphere. The more of those that you can have, the better. And I know I'm an introvert too. I get it. It kind of, it's a struggle to have to put yourself in that space. But damn, you put yourself in that space, and sometimes the world just starts opening up to you, and you start to ask yourself, when I was in my addiction, I missed all this. Like, why did I do that to myself? And the answer is because you're an addict. Because you're an addict. The addiction robs you of all those things. It robs you of so much that there'll be a point in sobriety where you get mad. You'll actually be mad at like yourself for having let yourself deny the possibilities that existed because you wanted to isolate. You wanted to put yourself there. It's a pretty deep struggle. It's a pretty real struggle, and that's why this is called a spiritual program, especially for the 12-step program. It's called spiritual not because of the accessibility of like religious ideas, like the concept of God and stuff like that. It's a religious, sorry, it's a spiritual program because we embrace the idea of self improvement that goes beyond, say, tangible steps or anything like that. Sometimes I personally feel the spirituality when I'm in a group. I have to be in a live group to really feel it. But when I talk to other people, when I recognize that sometimes messages that are communicated to me through others are the things that I needed to hear. And I wouldn't have found that message had it not been for me being there. That's when I recognize spirituality. Like, it's almost like a recognition that karma kind of exists and that there is like this outside force in the world that can help us. We got to tap into it, right? Um, and I I know it sounds repetitive and redundant to say it, but you're not going to find those messages in porn. The addiction is not the source for spirituality. It's almost like a false spirituality. It puts you into ecstasy and it gives you like a sense of well-being, but it's all completely false. That's why we run to it. That's why it's such a powerful motivator, and it steals everything else from you. All the other good things and facets in life, the more you lean into that false spirituality of like, elevated state based on orgasm. And not just the orgasm, it's the seeking capability that happens that I lent into, that many lean into it. The habit cycle itself becomes the trap, not just the end result of the orgasm, but everything about it. All of it becomes pleasurable, and it denies you of everything else in life. That I know for me, it denied me for time with my wife, time with my child. Denied me time for other self-improvement activities like working on me personally. I'm an artist. I like to explore my artwork. It denied me my art time. It denied me my motivation to be able to seek other career aspirations. It denied me when I actually was working and the amount of time and effort that I would put into my work subjects because I wanted to just get the hell out of Dodge and go masturbate. Right? I did all of it, and so much more, man. It robbed me of so much. And when I wake up and I say that I'm an addict, all that's in the back of my mind. Like it robbed me. It robbed me. Anyway, I don't have any chatters on this morning. If you're listening, thank you for staying online and listening to this message. I'm still looking for an interview. So if you happen to be a person who wants to talk about your addiction, I've had a couple of people already drop out on me. And I'm looking at doing a second interview with Kurt. I've got to reach out to Kurt again and set up a time. So that interview will likely be happening in the not so distant future. I'm trying not to. I've had a lot of other folks that like wanted to approach me for Findom. I'm a porn guy. And it's no disrespect to you. It's like that when I did the interview with Kurt, I had just met him through channels, and that is a great guy. Like it's really cool to see a guy who it's one thing for me to go start up like a local 12-step organization and have meetings at a local room, which is what I did. He started up an actual new organization, which is a process in and of itself. So I got a lot of respect for that man. But I might do a second interview with him and just acknowledging the fact that I'm not trying to be a Findom resource here. This is a porn recovery channel. But it was a hot topic, man, and we actually I unintentionally reached out to a crap load of people through that video, so we might do a follow up. But if you want to talk about your porn recovery, feel free to reach out to me. You can drop me a line either on my Yahoo email address. That's road the number two recovery number 11, just like the title here on my channel at yahoo.com. Yeah, can't talk this morning at yahoo.com. Again, that's road to recovery at yahoo.com. Or you can reach out to me, the link above to Twitter, or I guess they call it X now, and you can DM me and we'll set up a time and place. I guarantee your anonymity, so we don't have to see your face. I can actually do voice distortion, and you get to approve any edits, changes before anything gets published, so there's no risk on your end. And that's all I got to say this morning. Stay on that road to recovery, guys. I know the struggle's real. So, every single day you wake up and you work, right? You've got to have that plan. You got to keep pushing towards that goal. And if you don't have a goal set up, now's the time to start thinking about one. What's your recovery goals? Maybe we'll make that a topic one day. Set a recovery goal for yourself. And just keep in mind, I intend to be recovered as I just talked about this entire stream. That's not a realistic goal. Don't ever say to yourself, I'm going to be recovered one day. Instead, set a path for yourself where you can envision what you'll look like as a person who's not doing porn, right? I'm going to be stronger, wiser. I'm going to be more career oriented, a better father, a husband. And if you don't have those aspirations, what are your aspirations? What are your big, shiny, audacious goals? What are the things that you're looking to achieve in your life? Those are goals, right? Maybe you're trying to get that MBA. Maybe you're trying to, save up enough money to buy a car or, do traveling. I don't know. Whatever those things are, man. What's your passion, right? Those are some excellent goals. Like whatever your passion is, if you can answer that question and start jotting them down right now, those are good recall. Those are good goals. And a recovery based goal might also be like, I intend to, in 90 days not be doing any porn, not consuming any porn. I'll see you in 90 days. And if you keep hanging with me, you keep talking things out, you might just make it. I hope for you. I pray for you. Anyway, road to recovery. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. I don't make any money on this channel. I'm just here to help others. Take care of yourself and stay on that road to recovery. See you guys.